So it's another day of filming, and yesterday I filmed the gevechtsstand, which was in a slightly different area, and it was an area all the way back there, but there is more. And there is a hardened aircraft shelter with two teenagers standing in front of it, and as you can see, that one is permanently open, although there is a fence, and there's some sort of transformer building. But there are more interesting things here. There is a sort of electricity building, I think. First, let's head into this area. This is a horse riding track, as you can see, and it's all made of sand, and there are some interesting things here. There is actually a really interesting bunker, but we'll get to that a bit later. But first, we have this Cold War period building, and this was some kind of storage building, and it's made of concrete, as you can see. It has really thick walls, and last year I've already made some photos of this, and you see the same kind of switching, ventilators, all these nice industrial buttons. There are some lights, and just look at how large and big this Spagnolet lock is. That is a really large locking mechanism, and I believe this thing has been used for as a bed shelter. So let's get around the back. And the finish of the concrete is also really nice. At least it's rather decent. It's much better than the German built stuff. Although the formwork, as you can see, has not been completely flat. It's somehow bulged a little bit, and the concrete surface here is just a little rough. This is not really good. This is a sign that it was not properly compacted in that area. But the walls of this thing are massive, so compacting the concrete would have been a little bit difficult, perhaps. And you see that really nice edge detail over there. That actually looks, well, pretty nice, especially those corner details. There are also some sort of electricity things that have been painted green. Yeah, typical signs of cast in place concrete that is not completely impacted, and as you can see, the formwork bulged a little bit. And there is actually some stuff growing on it. Even more on this side. Overall, I think the detailing is actually rather high quality. This is the same kind of concrete quality work that they use for bridges and for tunnels. So it's built to a high standard. And here we have some kind of switch. Oh, it's from Elektromag. That is a former company from Hengelo. And this is, oh, Stahl is actually a well-known company. They also make lifts. It's a German company originally. And here are even more switches. I think this is just a fuse box. And just look at how nicely detailed those conduits are. But there is more. And there's a really interesting bunker, and it's really close besides here. There it is. Yes, we have to cross this first to get there. But yeah, that is a post-war bunker. Well, I'm not going over there, but there is no water in this trench, so we can just walk. And here's some old miscellaneous bit of concrete, probably German. There's more of those sort of things around here, especially in that area over there. And this bunker is probably even more interesting than the one on the Oosterveld estate, because this one is a lot bigger and built in the Cold War era, and I think it's built in the 1970s, just like the other buildings, and it's also ground covered and rather well hidden, especially in the summer when the vegetation is really dense. You would not be easily able to spot this thing. And there are also some air pipes on the roof of it. Yeah, if you look at it like this, then you'd think, oh, it's just a hill with some trees on it, and you wouldn't really think twice. But if you look at this from this angle, you see that it's actually a bunker. And I think it may be bigger underground, but I'm not sure. Actually, I don't think it's really that big. And it consists of two sections. There's a corridor in the middle, and there is a bulkhead door on either side of that little tunnel. And that door is not really visible here, but I have seen some photos, and well, there are doors on either side. And now, hey, what do we have here? Another bit of concrete, and that is probably something from the Germans. Unknown really what it is, not particularly clear. I have no idea. It's probably just a footing of something, and there's actually a little tree growing on it. Isn't that cute? That is rather strange. And again, it's just a random footing just laying about here. Oh, and there we have a little birdhouse. Well, and right over there is actually some kind of pond. I don't know if that used to be some kind of sniper pit. Could be, I'm not really sure. But it's filled with water. So that was this bit. Now we head back to the storage building, and then we may have a look around in the area over there. Oh, it seems like the two teenagers are gone. Maybe we can first have a look at the aircraft shelter. Oh, I also see a cyclist right now, but we ignore that. Anyway, it's nice and cold today. It has been freezing a little bit. I always like that. I like proper winters. There's the cyclist on a mountain bike, and that thing over there is now a piece of art. It used to be some kind of thing. I think it was for testing aircraft motors. I'm not really sure. There may be some sign there with a description of what it was, but they've stripped off the walls and the roofs, and they made some kind of sound installation of it, and it's just a piece of art. And right over there is another Gevechtstand, but that one is still intact. It's that air traffic control tower. There used to be another German structure made of concrete, really big, and it was modernized in the 1970s, and they extended the tower. It originally had a tower, but it was just an open concrete frame, and they built walls around it of corrugated steel iron, and they more or less modernized that Gevechtstand into a air traffic control center. So there is the aircraft shelter, and we can have a nice look at that. And here is a some kind of grating, I think to stop animals, probably. And well, there is lots of these shelters around here, and as I described in a video yesterday about the Gevechtstand, when we were at the rear of a shelter, I mentioned that there was a sliding door inside, and that's what you're looking at right now, because behind there is a dome, a small concrete dome. Oh, I think the teenagers maybe still be around here. But yes, this is a personnel door, small bulkhead, and the detailing on the concrete is rather nice, especially that recessed area over there is made of steel, and it is recessed into the concrete. Looks really nice, actually. I just wonder how they built it. There's another recessed area, and again, this is really nice quality concrete, but the roof is clad with bitumen. And here's some kind of pipe. As you can see, there is bitumen on the roof, and right there you can actually see the roof, but we have to climb a hill for that. And for some reason this part is recessed. I still wonder how they poured the roof structure, because it's not really a slab, but also not really a wall. The angular pitched roof is actually quite difficult to pour. Hey, this thing is echoing. Making the formwork for this is rather intricate. No, I don't think we can get at the back of this one. Oh. But here you have a better view of the bitumen. And there's another thing right there. Something, I don't know what it is. But yeah, they built, well, more than 20 of these things on this base, and they also built a sort of equal number on other bases, so they must have had a pretty good way of building them. They must have had a systemized formwork system for this. So let's see if we can actually get at the back and climb a hill, because there's another shelter, and the back of that has been filled with sand. But for that we need to, let's see, which way did I have to go? I think I had to go that way first. So now we're at the art installation, and they're still flying with planes here, at least small aircraft. And here is another grating that certain animals like deer and such do not like to cover, because their hooves get stuck in it, so they're afraid to cover it. And if we go that path, you find some other interesting structures, but it's a rather long walk actually, and I would rather do this with a bicycle, which is currently under repair. So let's climb that hill, and then we can see the rear of a aircraft shelter. So, and if you look around here, you can see that it's just a really large area. And right there in the distance is the Holthuis estate, which also has a bunker similar to the Oosterveld. And the Oosterveld estate is somewhere where I'm pointing now, somewhere in that direction. And yesterday, or even the day before yesterday, I was in that area where that tower is, because there's another interesting bunker. So we cover this bridge, and in the area over there they have some kind of safety campus. The fire department uses the buildings there to do all sorts of safety training. So, and now we are approaching the rear of the bunker, or I mean the aircraft shelter, where we were just a few moments ago. And there is it. That's the rear. And there's the I hope the GoPro can pick this up because it doesn't have a zoom lens, but there is a dome with sand. I hope I can get to it, because it would be interesting to show what it looks like. Yep, seems like we can do this. And there it is. That's the back area of the sliding doors. And here we have a concrete dome structure with two diagonal walls. I don't know the function of them. If someone could explain to me what they are for, let me know in the comments. But they are covered with sand. But yeah, this is just a dome structure. It's really like a classic Roman fort almost, but then made of concrete. I wonder if it has been reinforced with rebar, because dome structures do not necessarily need reinforcement, at least if you can support the outward thrust. But I suppose these have got some reinforcement in them. They probably have a cracking control, because it's a rather solid piece of concrete and it could easily crack by heat expansion. Let's see, can I get on top of it? Yes, I can. So now we are more or less on top of the dome. Well, not quite, but you can see these triangular walls. But now let's get down. And right there is a hill, and then we can get on top of a shelter. They actually made some sort of balcony on there. So now let's climb the hill. We saw that nice little dome structure, and now we're going to a higher elevation. And well, over there in the bushes is a post-war bunker that was a small personal shelter, and they've covered that with sand, and that shelter is made of precast concrete rings. And in the distance over there, behind the bushes, was a fuel depot, and that's another structure you can now visit. But that's a really long bit of walking. I don't think I'm going to do that today, because I'd rather do that with a bicycle, because it's quite a distance. That's actually, I mean, the runway is about 3 kilometers long. So Go figure how much walking that would be. And it looks like there are some new buildings over there. And there is the safety campus with, in the distance, the Holthuis estate. And roughly over there is the Oosterveld estate. So here you can have a better view of the shape of the aircraft shelters. And again you can see the dome structure with the sand wall against it. Those shelters are still used for a small aircraft club. They still have small aircraft here. And they made a nice little balcony on top of here. Oh, it says careful, it's wet in rainy weather. Oh, and there's actually also a path going this way. And here you can have a good look at the bitumen layer. This fencing is really nice too. It's nice and chunky. And now we're on the roof. And here you can see that edge detail, and the recess for the doors would be around here. So yeah, and you see those fixing points, and it looks like there's even some kind of fiber mesh in the bitumen layer, and everything's painted in the same green color. Hey, and there are some sandhills that appear to be new. I haven't seen those before. They are also in an area not really visible from the public, because if you're in the Holthuis estate, which is around there, there are some interesting bunkers. Well, yeah, there's one bunker, and there is an old ruin of a hangar. And then you can't really see that from there. So I decided to walk a little bit further, and right there are the fuel storage tanks, but I'm not going there now because that's still quite a long walk, and I just don't want to do that today. So that's for another time. But here we have that precast personnel shelter I mentioned. And this type of shelter also exists in the area where the flea market often is. And there's one where you can still get in. That one does not have the ground cover and is still in its original size and original appearance. But this one has been turned into a bat sanctuary, and here's a pit with water, and this one has been covered up with sand. And actually I think it's really not that bad at all. It looks rather nice and more natural this way, and actually the sand also gives it a bit of camouflage. Hey. It seems it can actually be opened, but I'm not gonna do that. I do not want to disturb the beds. Anyway, we can get on top of it. And this personal shelter would go something like that and then like that, in like a zigzag shape. But the other end here has been blocked. They've covered it up with sand, and there's a post-war personnel shelter as well. That's one of the many that they've built here. But this one was used, I think, for emergency purposes. I don't really know how many of them they built here, but well, at least 2, maybe 3 that I know of. Anyway, on the area with hangar 11 and hangar 17, there's one that you can still get in, and that one doesn't have a door. And when I visit the flea market there, I sometimes have a look around it, but I have not filmed that one yet, because if I'm going to the flea market I can't really carry a camera with me, because I need to carry stuff that I buy, and having a camera would be a little clumsy, and besides there's many people about then, and the area is only accessible when there is an event there, such as the flea market. Hey, there is a animal. I don't think the GoPro can pick that up, but there was a rabbit. Anyway, I've mentioned it in my previous video about a gevechtstand. The trees are really young and really thin, and when you go to the firing range you see similar kind of trees, and they were probably planted in the 80s, but they are just extremely slender. I wonder what kind of tree that is. So this here is the art installation with the sound, and here is a little bit of rebar. This is a ripped beam. I think it's a 400 megapascal, 400 newton per square millimeter rebar. And these are, let's see, yes, they're IPE profiles, rather large ones. Yeah, it's an IPE. And these are UMP profiles. And there's even some markings on it. Anyway, the sound changes depending on where you are in the structure, because all these tubes have different sounds coming out of them. Ooh, it's really slippery here. You could easily fall and slide. I think the bolts are really long. Just look at those threaded rods, how long they are. And those are rather standard. Oh, this may be a UMP 180, I think. And they have been treated with zinc. They're galvanized. And this door has some sort of sound absorbing perforated board on it. This is nicely welded, and this is also really nicely detailed. But you hear all sorts of different sounds, and the sounds are labeled by those panels there that describe what type of sound it is that you're hearing. You mostly hear bird sounds and airplane sounds. And here you hear conversation. Anyway, you hear all sorts of random conversations and speech here. So these are all really just large speakers. And there is another structure which probably has some sounds. Oh yeah, that's just bird sounds. And this frame is made of standard H beams, probably HEA ones by the looks of it. Oh yeah, it's another bird sound. And I think this may have also been an original part of the structure, but I can't remember exactly what this is. And there's another structural part that is dismantled. Let's see if there's a sign indicating what this thing originally was, because that would be interesting to know. Watch the slippery floor. Let's see, can we find something that tells what this thing is? Well, I think it was some kind of motor test system. This is also odd. Just look at this chunky concrete with this really weirdly detailed bits of steel in there. I wonder what they attached to that. And the rebar that you see here are just mild steel reinforcement bars. They're different quality than the ripped ones. The ripped beams are much stronger. And here, this is also interesting. There's some kind of panels in the floor that extend outwards. They were probably used for cabling, I think. But there's absolutely nothing indicating what it is. I thought there was some kind of sign here. Well, that was it for today. The fuel depot thing I'm going to look at another time, because I don't want to walk a few kilometers. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next video. Hey, interesting though. Well, it's jammed.